Loneliness. It's a very common, well-known topic that I feel like a lot of people has talked about or mentioned previously in the talk show podcast and whatnot. And I feel like the reason why so many people has discussed this is because every single person in this world has felt lonely at least once in their lifetime. It could be for a very long period of time or just a few days or minutes. But despite it all, that feeling of loneliness is still valid. Like, you don't always need to magnify things for it to matter or be accepted. So to just get into it, according to Google, loneliness means sadness because one has no friends or company. Which I think is true, of course, to a great extent, but at the same time, I feel like it doesn't do a great job at including the other definitions of what loneliness means, because there is so much you can add, which makes sense because everyone experiences it and develops it very differently and deals with it very differently. So for my case, a little bit about myself, so it gives a better understanding and to draw a bigger picture. I'm the firstborn child and daughter of immigrant parents. Now, that's a trauma on its own. But yeah, parents who left everything to come to Australia for a better life, and for me and my brother who was born, a few years later after settling in. So, they come and, they just first arrived. The issue is, when they first arrived, they didn't really know anyone, especially my mom and dad. I mean, I didn't, and not like I was supposed to, I was freaking 4, but however, they didn't know anyone other than like a few distant friends of theirs, who now over the time became really good friends, but I'm talking about like the time when they just first arrived. They didn't really know anyone. They weren't close to anyone, and when I mean close, I mean like super close. Like, as an example, well, a real example, back home in Bangladesh, my parents lived in a building which was owned by my grandpa from my dad's side, and throughout that building was the rest of my family. Like, my entire family lived in that building. It was packed with just like my bloodline. So, my family members, so my dad's siblings, my mom and her in-laws, and right next to my dad's building was my grandma's building, which consisted of my mom's side of the family, like her brothers, her sibling, her aunties and whatnot. And they were so close that one could predict what would happen to the other before it even happens, because they just knew each other that well. Like, I feel like that's what I mean when I said they were that close. And so when she came to Australia, she didn't really have that. She had no one who she could relate to or talk about things she was used to talking about while living back home. And it would usually be on topics that many people in Australia wouldn't be able to relate to, since it's a whole new culture, tradition. So I feel like my mom and my dad, but my dad was a lot better at hiding his emotions, so I didn't really know much about my dad and how that happened. So I'm going to be talking about a lot about my mom. So my mom kind of fits into that Google definition of loneliness, and I'm not in any way, form or shapes shoving my mom into a box or category and stating, yep, that's the only reason. But I know based on her and whatever she said, that is one of the main reasons for her loneliness and why she experienced it in the first place, which was she was missing her home and her people. So eventually, this is where I come in, she tried to get me and talk to me about things that she used to talk about to her family members. And like I said, she will start conversations with me and try teaching me the ways of living that she grew up learning while being in Bangladesh. And I had no problem with that. Absolutely no problem. Like, I was grateful. Like, I love learning about my culture. I'm not going to abandon it. But as I grew up and I started to go to school and had to mix with new people, interact with new kids, I was also naturally drifting away from traditions my mom tried so hard to hold on to through me. And me drifting away, I knew it hurt her a little, but it's not like she could do anything about it, like, she kind of accepted it, but she was obviously hurt. But like, what was she gonna do, kick me back to Bangladesh? No, like, that's not an option. So because I drifted away and she couldn't really do anything, we kind of grew distant in a way, since our opinions of certain topics and things would clash because of the way we view it. Like, she would see it in a way that she was taught, whereas I would see it in a way where I was taught. So I see it very differently to her. And I'm not saying every Bengali parent is like this. Remember, this is all my personal experience, my personal recount. So just to keep that in mind, let's keep that in mind. I'm not saying every single Bengali parent are like this, every single Desi parent are like this. No, that's not what I'm saying. But yeah, because of us always clashing and not really, getting along as much, we kind of drifted apart. And every time we did talk about topics, we would get in a bit of an argument and whatnot. So me and my mom kind of have a bit of a gap now. There's a distance, which you can tell. So since we always used to get in arguments, I had to learn to keep things to myself a lot more than I should have, which sucks because as much as I loved past tense, because now I can draw the line around my parents, and since I still live with them, I still have to do it. But yeah, anyways, back to what I was saying. I had to learn to bottle up my feelings, thoughts, and emotions and whatnot. And since I've always bottled them up, now I really struggle to connect with people. So that is something I suck at, like connecting with people. That's number one. Number two is I'm a very introverted person. Just naturally, like I'm very introverted. So that is also very stressful when I'm told to interact with people, but then also being closed off emotionally, verbally, and mentally just makes things a lot worse. Like I could be in a room with 10 people, or all my best friends and whatnot, and 10 minutes into the gathering, I would immediately want to go home. And that's because my social battery runs out. And it took me a long time to realize why it runs out, but it's because I don't have a lot of experience in talking or interacting with people for long hours or minutes. So now when I do talk, I naturally stop myself from talking or oversharing, because I feel like, I'm talking too much, and my brain convinces me that I'm going to start an argument or they're going to judge me, and when that realization hits, I instantly shut down. And I feel myself just slumping a little bit, and in that moment, I feel the loneliest. That's when I feel the most loneliest. And it's not anyone's fault, and I'm not saying these are my friends' fault, they're not interesting and whatnot. My friends could be literally talking about the most interesting topic, and I'll be like, yeah, okay. Like, there. My battery's gone, it's dead. So, and it's no one's fault, like I just said, but it's literally my brain, and it's my brain's fault because that's what, and it's not even my brain's fault at this point, it's just the way I've been, the way that I grew up, like, always being shut down, always being told no, like, your opinion's, it's not correct. And I'm not saying it's that person's fault who told me this, but at the same time I am, so that's that. That's when I feel the most loneliest, when I come to a realization, or my brain convinces me that no one really cares and you're just irritating people. So that's when I feel the loneliest. But what I realized ultimately is that me and my mom are the quite opposite. Like me, I'm not lonely because I have no one, like my mom, I'm lonely because I'm scared of being shut down and starting a fight. I'm lonely because I struggle to have a conversation since I feel like I'm oversharing. And those are because ever since I was little, I was forced to close myself off a little bit, because the person who I lived with was also a very lonely person, and someone who struggled to deal with their emotions, and they didn't deal with it that well, and I don't blame them. Mental health wasn't a serious topic back home in Bangladesh, and I still feel like for the previous generation it still isn't. And therefore the inability to deal with it properly has drained me out completely, because I'm constantly surrounded by them, I'm with them. The energy just kind of came to me, it's like, phew. So it kind of impacted me, and that person didn't realize it, so I wouldn't blame them, which sucks because I feel like I'm missing out so much in life. But I don't know what to do about it, because it's complicated. It's a very complicated situation for me. But what I'm trying to say is that not everyone is lonely because they don't have anyone or they miss a place. One reason of the vast majority is because they were taught to be lonely, and they were developed in a way that forced them to become lonely without even realizing, no matter how many people they were surrounded by. Which brings me to confess that I feel the most heard and accepted when I'm alone, because I'm not in that fight or flight mode. I'm in the present, and I have no one to judge me. Whereas in front of people, I feel like, oh shit, this isn't going to be looking good in the next half an hour. Like, I could be like, they're gonna pinpoint something. They're gonna like literally dissect everything I say, and they're gonna turn it into something bad. I could be saying something wrong, and they're gonna be like, oh my god. So, you know, when I'm alone, I don't do that. I'm like, oh yeah, there's literally no one here. Like, who's gonna judge me? The ghost, the jinn? No. So that's that. That's why I feel lonely. That's why my mom felt lonely, and how that kind of affected me and whatnot. But now I come to the question, how do we fix it? How do we stop feeling like this? To be honest, I don't know. If you're expecting an answer, I'm so sorry. I don't know. I'm blank on a certain answer, because like I said, I like to be alone, but I live with my parents right now, and moving out in a Desi household is very hard. First of all, it's culturally really not accepted. I don't know why, or why it's looked down upon, but it's just is. So there's that. And even if I do, the burden of moving out will literally kill me, because my parents and a lot of people I've talked to, and they said that they relate to me, so that they will feel bad, because a lot of parents see it as a way of abandoning them, which I feel like is just another way for parents to gaslight you. But it's a reach. But in reality, some parents think like that, like, oh, my kids are abandoning me. No, your kids just want to grow up in a healthy environment. And that aside, it's not easy. Like, you need to be independent, you know, like, you need to know how to take care of yourself and whatnot. It's not always luxurious living on your own. So there's that. And also, just because, like I say, I like being alone, it's hypothetical. Like, I would like living alone, you know, but I don't know if moving out would cure all my problems. But if it's something that someone who relates to this and thinks it might help, I would really encourage you, if it's possible, at least, you know, you tried, and if it works, then great. And if it didn't, then you have space to look at more plans and solution. But yeah, like, it's not just because I say I like being alone doesn't mean that if I move out, my problem's gonna, you know, and that's okay. That just means that's not my solution. There's so many other solutions. But the thing that sucks is that, because I can't even like cross that out on my like list, like, oh yeah, it worked or it didn't work, because I feel like I'm never going to be able to experience living alone, which makes me very jealous of people that lives alone. It's like, oh, I want that, but you know, that's that. And if you feel like, you know, it's an emotion or feeling, or loneliness is something you deal with nearly every single day, I would really recommend reaching out for help, whether it's to a specialist, or even if it's just like ranting and, you know, explaining it to your friend. Do that. Just get it off your chest. And if you want to spend some time alone, do that. It's okay to spend time. I don't know, like I feel like a lot of people are scared to spend time alone, and everyone has their own reasons, but if it makes you happy, it makes you feel better, no matter what people say, just do it. Like, suck them, people, just do it. And yeah, I think that's it from me, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you did relate to any of this, I'm really sorry. I know it sucks and it's shitty. I feel your pain, I hear you, and no matter what, you guys are in my prayers, and I wish you all the best. But before I leave, the one thing I'm going to do is give you guys a book recommendation at the end of every podcast that relates to your topic, because I like reading books, and I think everyone should, you know, read books, because it's nice. It teaches you a lot of things. Even if it's like a book that's just filled with smart, it will teach you how to, I don't know, it will teach you things. So for today's topic, which was loneliness, my book recommendation would be Counting Down With You by Tashi Buhian. I think that's how you say her name. I'm really sorry if I mispronounced her last name. It's about a girl who, her name is Karina, I'm pretty sure. I read it like a long time ago. Her name's Karina, and she's Bengali. So, you know, it's got like people of color representation and whatnot, LGBT representation. So her parents are Bengali, and they go on a trip to Bangladesh. So she's there now with her grandma and her brother, and living in America. So now she has like whole 28 days to do everything she's wanted, everything that her parents has restricted her from doing. So she has this like 28 days of freedom, and she's like, oh my god, you know, we can do things, blah blah. And then this guy comes along, and he's like, you know, and this is fake dating trope. I think that's very self-explanatory. But the thing that I'm trying to say the most is that if you look at her backstory and really pay attention to everything that she's going through, like the mental health representation is really good in that book. The way I had to put that book down, because I was getting anxious from trying to figure out what her parents are going to do. I was like, oh my god, she did this, her parents are going to kill her. Because I could relate to that girl. It's like, oh my god, I can relate to you. Like, if I did that, mom would kill me, and I would also be like counting down my days, like, of death. So yeah, I think I've cried a few times. It was it really overwhelmed me a little, because like I said, it's a topic. Her backstory is something that I relate to heavily. So if you want to like read about that, I think that book would be really good. So I'll repeat, it's Counting Down With You by Tashi Bohan. I'm praying I said her name right, but it's like a blue cover, and he has got notepads and like I think it's got calendars, and it's a girl and a guy holding hands and whatnot. But it's a really good book. Check it out if you want to. Obviously, no pressure. Read it. But yeah, no, I'm kidding. It's totally up to you. Read it. But yeah, I hope the rest of your day is going well, and if it's nighttime, I hope you have a great night. I hope your day went well, or you have a great day. And if you just wake up, or if your day was just shitty, that's totally fine too. No hate. Oh my god, my neighbors. But yeah, so there's no hate in that. Just take care of yourself at least. Get some rest, drink some water, treat yourself, because nevertheless, whatever you're going through shouldn't be an excuse to treat yourself horrible. So just remember that. And yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for giving this podcast a chance, and I really do appreciate it.